Each problem has hidden within it an opportunity so powerful that it literally dwarfs the problem. The greatest success stories were created by people who recognized a problem and turned it into an opportunity. Joseph Sugarman. Napoleon Hill was appointed by the millionaire Andrew Carnegie to study the lives of the successful people and find out the clues and principles that helped them become successful. He was paid commission to study and interview many successful men and women that the world was aware of. While observing, Napoleon found that they all had one characteristic in common. Each of them had developed a habit of continuously looking into every difficulty for the seed of an equal or a greater benefit or advantage. They consistently tried to discover a silver lining even if they felt that they were staring at the darkest clouds. The major takeaway from Hill's observation is that it is not the people's background that makes them successful. It is their unique psychology. The manner in which they respond to events is more important rather than letting the nature of events affect their mindset and behavior. Therefore, it is a fact that between the stimuli and the response lies the power to rewrite your destiny.
If you study success and successful people, you will understand that every successful person has experienced countless temporary setbacks, breakdowns, and even outright defeats in their course of life. But it was always their ability to respond positively and proactively and constructively to these defeats and the ability to bounce back that ultimately assured them the success. So the real defeat is not when you fall down, but when you refuse to get up. It's always the bouncing rather than the breaking part that eventually makes people successful.
Murphy's Law says whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Of all the things that can go wrong, the worst possible thing will go wrong at the worst possible time and cost the most amount of money. Cohen's Law states in addition to this, Murphy was an optimist. If you look at the flip side of the Murphy's Law, it also means that whatever can go right will go right as well. It is our job to find out what can go right when things go bad. Instead of asking why bad things happen to me, you should learn to ask, how can I turn this around? By bringing a change to your questions, you take one step forward in changing the outcome. Ask yourself, what good can come out of this challenge right now or in the coming future?
So to deal with adversity effectively, your ability to ask questions is essential. As long as you're asking questions, you are expanding the range of options and possibilities that are open to you. As long as you are asking questions, you are keeping your mind calm and cool and objective. You're not allowing yourself to get caught up emotionally, thereby shutting down large parts of your brain and your creative powers.
Disappointments can come despite our maximum efforts to avoid it. Between the inevitable and the unavoidable one, those who can stay on with a happy face are the ones who are capable of understanding the hidden blessings in all the insurmountable challenges they may ever face in life.
What is adversity? If you objectively look at it, it's simply when life doesn't go according to your plan. That's it. You have a plan of how you want your life to go. This is where I am, this is where I want to go. And adversity is simply an obstacle that may come in temporarily or permanently and say, nope, you're not going in that direction. That's it. That's all that adversity is. And then we create all the stories on top of that and why am I being punished, so on and so forth, when in reality, that's it. It's simply, hey, I had a plan, something happened, now I can't go down that route. Okay, now what this also means is adversity in and of itself isn't bad. It's just when something doesn't go according to your plan, not life's plan, not the universe's plan, your subjective plan. Okay, what is adverse to one person might actually be something amazing for another person and vice versa. Okay, so this here, really seeing it for what it is, takes the charge out of it, and it leads you to also asking yourself, and this is crucial, how do you know that this event is bad? How do you know? Do you really know? No, you know right now from your, subjective point of view, like that's where I want it to go. Why is this happening? But in the larger scheme of things, how do you know that this event is bad? What really defines a bad event? Okay, if you reflect back on your life and you hear these stories left and right, people who might, for example, get fired, or a relationship ends. And at the time, they're like, this is so bad, adversity, I wanted my job to go this way and something happened and now I'm fired. I wanted my relationship to go this way and something happened and now I'm single. Why? Okay, in the moment, they believe it's bad, right? Their subjective point of view. Yet you fast forward a year or two, you ask that same person, and they'll tell you, oh, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. If I were to have stayed in that original job, I would have been way less well off than I am now. That job, actually being fired, led me to find an amazing, even better job that I'm passionate about. Or that breakup, although in the moment I thought was the worst thing ever, actually led me to this new relationship, which is much healthier, that I never would have gone into if it weren't for that breakup. Okay, so in the larger scheme of things, those people who thought at first this is bad, turns out it wasn't.
Adversity on a sublime level teaches us, and on a deeper level, it has the capability of transforming us. It also plays a pivotal role in transforming us spiritually, because adversity facilitates the death of our big ego. Whenever we break down while going through suffering, we learn the values of humility and appreciation, which helps us cherish the simple pleasures of life. Moreover, the death of our ego when we are going through this adverse condition, they can give us this spiritual evolution, and that is very much necessary for pursuing a larger purpose in life. Adversity builds the depth of character and inner strength. The very best qualities of strength, like courage, character, determination, and persistence, are brought in you when you face your greatest challenges, when you're faced with greatest obstacles. Some of the most valued virtues that wield your strength and character are nourished through bad and unpleasant events in life.
At a psychological level, adversity serves us more than we know. Dr. Abraham Zalznick of the Harvard Business School did a study on the role of disappointment in a human's life. When everyone was talking about motivation and its contribution in making a person successful, Zalznick was looking at disappointments. He discovered that successful people respond to disappointments in an entirely different manner in comparison to the unsuccessful ones. His conclusion was that the way and manner in which we deal with disappointments in life is a greater predictor of whether you will achieve success. Successful people, in fact, use disappointments in life to create a frustration point to bring changes in their behavior. When they hit rock bottom, a level of frustration emerges that makes them do things that were previously termed impossible for them to achieve. They developed a sense of courage and tenacity to face their demons head-on with perseverance. They roll with the punches and respond to adversities bravely with greater enthusiasm to overcome them. While many people are paralyzed by their challenges, a very few go forward.
Circumstances don't build character, they reveal it. See, in the moment, when you're facing an obstacle, when things are really hard, your first reaction, your knee-jerk gut reaction, that's your true character. That's who you really are. And when I'm going through those moments, those knee-jerk reaction moments, I like to pause for a moment and ask myself, how am I behaving? Am I proud of the way that I'm acting right now in this moment? And if I'm not, I know my character has room for growth and evolution, and I know that that moment will make my character stronger in the future. So remember, circumstances reveal your character today. They build your character tomorrow.
So if you want to know what you're made of, just observe yourself on how you think and behave when problems and challenges surmount you.
When you squeeze a lemon, the juice which is literally inside comes out. Similarly, when you are presented with the insurmountable challenges in life, what life presents to you, question is, what comes out of you? When you're pressured by the challenges that life presents to you, from work, from life, from all the people and situations around you, and when you're pressured so tightly, what comes out of you? So if there is fear, Chances are you will pass the buck. But if there is love deep inside you, if there is courage within you, you will act with confidence. The undeniable truth is that what is inside always comes out when you are pressured. So when you are presented with adversity, when you are given with the pressures of life, what is inside comes out. That's why they say adversity reveals a man to himself. So the next time you face adversity, you need to ask yourself, do you want to give up on your dreams? Or do you want to stand tall and roll with the punches? You want to take on? Do you want to know what you're made of? How are you going to develop your inner strength and confidence?
Confidence, real, genuine, authentic confidence to me simply means a belief in your ability to figure things out. That's all. When the stuff hits the fan, just go, okay, I didn't want that, but I'll figure it out. That's all I want you to say. I'll figure it out. I'll handle it. Things will be okay. This is difficult. I will survive. I know that sounds so basic, but if you don't frame everything else that comes after that, it's just too hard. It's just too hard. We'll get sucked into negativity. We'll get sucked into dread or into bitterness or into sadness. We just have to immediately go, oh gosh, okay, I'm gonna have confidence. I know I can figure this out. Because you know what the reality is, you figured things out in the past that were equally as difficult or harder. Or if you haven't, if this is the biggest adversity you've ever faced in your life, guess what you're gonna need to survive, my friend? Belief in your ability to figure things out.
Bad things are not always bad. It is good to have changes in life too. When you bring change in a bad experience, you will always see a good thing emerging out of it. Those are nothing but blessings in disguise.
Ask yourself, well, how do I know this is bad? And could it perhaps be good? And if it is good, how could it be good? Okay, there might be a lot of resistance hearing this, but this is absolutely crucial. This thing that, I can't believe this is happening. If I were to shift perspectives here, is there a way of viewing this as a blessing? Okay, I'm sure you've heard the term a blessing in disguise. If you want to receive the blessing, you must first let it come to you in disguise. And this adverse situation, this life crisis, can you perhaps try to see past the disguise and see the blessing for what it is?
Throughout history, great thinkers have reflected upon the paradox and have concluded that adversity is the test that you must pass when you're on the path to accomplish anything worthwhile. Herodotus, the Greek philosopher, said, "Adversity has the effect of drawing out strength and qualities of a man that would have lain dormant in its absence." Very true. If there is no Goliath, there is no reference of David either. Without villains, there are no heroes. Without adversity, there can be no great story that is worth telling.
It also makes the story of your life just epic, right? You don't want to tell your story and be like, well, I did that, and everything went perfectly well. It's like, no, and then this happened, and then I realized this, and there was the ups and the downs. That's what makes an epic story. If you view your life like a movie, that's what makes the movie exciting. You don't go to watch a movie where it's just predictable and flat. You want the ups and downs.
Life is like a trampoline, my friend. The lower you hit, the higher you rise. Therefore, don't be disappointed by the troubles and the challenges that life presents to you. They are merely temporary circumstances, and they too shall pass. You are in charge, and never forget that you have absolute control over them. The power lies purely in your psychology and on your mindset. When you own 100% responsibility towards handling your challenges, you will figure out ways to solve them intelligently. Sometimes all you need is a new perspective, a point of view in dealing with your challenges. So don't monopolize your problems. Don't think you are the only person going through it. And don't even limit yourself into thinking there's only one way to handle your challenges. Be open to multiple perspectives and point of views. And for sure, you'll find your answer.
Your adversity that seems so difficult, two things to know. Number one, you're not the first person to be challenged with that adversity. Out of 7 billion people, and thousands of collected years of recorded human history. None of us are going through anything that unique. I know that sounds mean to say, but I've always found that people who really believe that their adversity or difficulty is so different than everyone else that nobody can understand, they become bitter, you don't understand, or they don't ever ask for help because they don't think anyone can understand them. So either they get mad at everybody else, or they push everybody else away, or avoid the very thing that could serve them, which is seeking some assistance, as we'll talk about. So what I'd like you to do is keep perspective. No one is the first person to ever get cancer anymore. No one's the first person to lose a child anymore. No one's the first person to lose a limb anymore. No one's the first person to be in a car accident anymore. Other people have gone through it, so keep perspective. Realize that there's only two stories in humanity's narrative. That's struggle and progress. Lots of people struggled through what you've been through, but a lot of people have also progressed through it. So never feel alone. And realize too, with keeping perspective, remember the times in the past that you did have some adversity. You called on some kind of strength. You summoned something. What made you help you get through it before? What helped you? What helped you break through? What helped you deal with it? Can you remember those times? Think about that. What helped you before? What helped you before? Remember those times. It will help you keep perspective. You're not alone. You've been through some stuff before. Believe in your ability to figure this one out too.
What Norman Vincent Peale once said was very apt. When God wants to send you a gift, he wraps it up with problems. The thing is that most of us look only at the wrapper and ignore the gift that's inside. Here's an interesting story. On the afternoon of June 14, 1981, a big tornado hit a small town called Roseville in Minnesota, USA.
From Roseville, where a tornado struck hundreds of homes yesterday in the St. Paul suburb. We'll have the full story for you in just a moment on Eyewitness News.
The tornado ripped through the whole town for 26 long minutes, destroying most of Roseville, including an electric store called Sound of Music. After the big storm, the staff at the electric store began recovering the inventory that was scattered across the neighboring areas. The twister damaged most of the goods, but the employees started loading up most of what was left of the speakers, VCRs, and other electronic goods to their warehouse situated in Bloomington. The employees were quite disappointed because of the destruction caused by the natural tragedy. So they came up with a sale idea and called it a tornado sale. The Sound of Music team knew that they could greatly reduce the price of the damaged goods and sell them in their current condition. All of them were also aware that no one would take fancy in buying these damaged electronic goods. Therefore, the CEO decided to add something more to the sales strategy. He asked the employees to include other open items, display pieces, discounted models, and overstocked inventory as part of the sale. To create more buzz, it was decided that the sale would take place in the lot where the tornado struck within 6 days of the destruction. On the sale day, employees wearing the Tornado Sale T-shirts started welcoming curious customers who wanted to see their tornado damage. Soon, more customers began to flock in and everything was sold out on the first day itself. On day 2, they added more inventory from other warehouses and the sale madness picked up further. It was something the employees had never seen before. Their tornado strategy gave them a glimpse of a new business model. They observed that the customers not only flocked to the sale, but their attitude was also much different than before in dealing with the company employees. They were more relaxed and friendly. Everyone treated each other with empathy without any hard sale talk. Customers were happy that they got the best deal for the products. Next year, there was no tornado, but the team continued their tornado sale.
Our reaction, just what you'd expect from the Best Buy company. Sound of Music's annual Tornado Madness sale at the State Fairgrounds. Super savings on name brand TV, stereo, and video equipment. Don't get caught short this year.
After 2 years, Sound of Music was renamed as Best Buy. From the wake of a natural disaster, Best Buy went on to become one of the biggest American multinational consumer electronics retailers in the world. The worst of what happened became the best of what happened for their business.
Tragedy contains in itself the power to transform our human lives. Often the worst of that happens to us can eventually turn out to be the most defining moments for the best to unravel itself. Robert Shalom, said it perfectly. He said, problems are not stop sign, they are guidelines. Most people forget to notice the flip side of things that happens to them. When faced with adversity, we have two choices. Either to look for a flip side that could turn everything around for the better now or in the future, or cling on to the past losses of suffering, and get yourself entangled into a negative spiral. Looking for the flip side is a way to train our mind to see things in a positive light. Some people take months and even years to see the available blessings in their life, but some people get it instantly.
Even though intellectually we know that each human suffering contains a boon, many people fail to overcome it because overcoming adversity is more painful to them than the adversity itself. People who fail at overcoming their adversities accept them as limitations. It's easier to be powerless, take no responsibility, and blame everything on something or someone else than assuming 100% responsibility for the same. Taking up a challenge negates human passivity to live with problems.
Another surefire way to overcome adversity is to not make excuses and use this time, this valuable time, to better ourselves. And I think what I've seen is people will sit back, they'll sit back and they'll say, I'm just going to let this play out. So they don't do anything, they make excuses. But what we know is this: excuses are lies that we tell ourselves because we're afraid of the future. We're afraid of what the outcome will be, so we sit back and we do nothing. Well, what happens then is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because we didn't do anything, because we didn't try to overcome the situation that we're in, because we didn't try to better ourselves when we had a chance to do that, what happens is we suffer from the decisions that we make. That's not a good way to do it. It's time to start looking at your situation and saying, I can overcome this. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm going to use this time wisely. What we know is this: the economy has been stopped by the coronavirus pandemic, but the economy can move ahead, and it will move ahead. The coronavirus stopped the economy temporarily, but it doesn't have to stop you at all.
When adversity strikes, so many people just go, oh my gosh, that's horrible. And they sit and they wait and they wait and they wait. Or they lay in bed and they're depressed and depressed and depressed. And they keep hoping for something to change, but there's only two things that change your life. Either something new comes in, some new opportunity, new person, new luck, new grace. Something new comes externally in, or something new comes from within. Some new power, some new strength, some new ambition, some new belief, some new resolve, some new willingness to fight and make it happen. Those are the only two things that change. Either something new comes in or something new comes from within. And I tell you that because you can't just wait and hope that everything gets better. Because if it's real adversity, it's going to require action. And what I tell people is, don't kind of like sometimes act to deal with it, schedule it. What are you going to do every single day? Even if it's just 3 goals every day to handle that, to deal with that, to cope with that. Just 3 things. Sometimes those 3 things are as simple as take a shower. It's sometimes just getting out of bed, taking a shower to start the day is a win. I remember when I had my brain injury, it was a huge struggle, just basic stuff. Sending an email sometimes was a win. Making a call, making sure I ate lunch to keep glucose coming to my brain. Like simple things were wins, but I had to schedule things because left to my own devices, I wouldn't do anything. I'd be like on the 7th season of some show or something, You got to schedule action each day, especially when it's difficult.
A paranoid person is someone who believes that the whole world is conspiring against them. An inverse paranoid, on the other hand, is a person who believes that the whole world is conspiring to make things happen, to make them successful. This is a benevolent worldview versus a malevolent worldview.
The inverse paranoid principle is probably the most powerful principle I've ever come across. Anything I've ever heard in the world of personal and success philosophy, this one thing trumps everything in my opinion, because it is the primary directive for how we can really live a more inspiring reality. And I first came across this principle when I read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book. And there he talks about this idea of the inverse paranoid. So most people in the world are upright paranoid. They're just paranoid that life is out to get them, right? They take everything so personally. And so the inverse paranoid is the opposite. It's actually assuming that life is conspiring for your good. Life is conspiring for you instead of against you. What an amazing idea. What an amazing idea that is. What if we just walked around and navigated through this thing we call reality with the assumption that life was actually for us instead of against us?
An inverse paranoid person always believes that the whole universe is on their side. They'll always interpret life's events, both negative and positive in nature, as a plan and a purpose to enhance their own goals in life. Furthermore, they know that the opportunities and obstacles are nothing but polarities of life, that once you encounter the other side of the pole, which is obstacle, for example, they can smartly identify the available opportunity side of the pole as well. Such people are smart enough to realize the fact that the opportunity cannot be easily identified without its polar opposite, obstacle. This is the reason why these people can boldly make statements like, everything happens for a reason, everything happens for good.
Imagine how much easier it would be to succeed in life if you were constantly expecting the world to support you and bring you opportunity. Now, successful people do just that. They look for the opportunity in everything, no matter how negative or challenging it might seem. So if you take the approach that everyone and everything that shows up in your life is there for a reason, and that the universe is moving you toward your ultimate destiny for learning, for growth, and for achievement, you will begin to see every event, no matter how difficult or challenging, as an opportunity for enrichment and advancement in your life.
Most people define a problem as an obstacle, but for an inverse paranoid person, they call it a challenge that drives them to stretch even more in life.
Sometimes the struggle is put there for you. Sometimes life is happening for us to get better. And it's a demand and it's challenging and that hardship can suck, but know that struggle is necessary at this moment now. You got to deal with it. You can't avoid it. You've got to face this thing and say, okay, what can I move? What can I shake? Except the fact that we can't change everything. We can't influence everything, but we can change and influence our attitude, our actions each day. We can figure out something to move forward in our lives. And a little bit more that we get of those little things that we can move forward, a little bit more we feel confident again. The struggle is something to be honored because it's going to forge a greater capacity and character later on. So honor it. Don't hate it, because anything you throw hate at, that quickly amplifies into flames of fury. Instead, have patience with it. See it and recognize it as a necessary thing at this time of your life. That's why it's been put there, even if you don't want it. Have that mentality of like, okay, I'm meant to deal with this now. I didn't want to, but here it is. So how do I keep my confidence?
An inverse paranoid person loves challenges. They welcome it instead of resisting it. They know that these challenges make them grow into better individuals and into better, stronger people who can shoulder bigger responsibilities in life. Therefore, it is true that from great adversities comes greater strength.
Stand up to fear. Stand up to adversity. You know, it's so easy to give up, to sit back and float down that river, and it is just going to take me wherever it takes me. No, stand up to fear, stand up to adversity, and make a change. In my life, I can say to you, as most of us who are over 50, over 60 years old, most of us have had things in our life that maybe we wish, and probably we wish never happened. I've had businesses that were successful. I've had careers that I was very proud of, but I've also had setbacks in my life. I've also had businesses that weren't successful, but persevering, keeping at it, not giving up, facing adversity head on and saying, you know what, this happened. I'll get through it. It'll happen again, and I'll get through it a second time. Yes, this is what I call 10 times the adversity that we have ever faced in our lifetime. And certainly, if, as I said before, if you're somebody who is not working or unemployed or underemployed, maybe your hours were cut, and you're looking at, how am I going to pay my bills? What am I going to do? Well, call that bill collector, call that utility company, call the company that is financing your car or leasing your car. Call them on the phone. Face it. Don't give up. Face it and deal with it. But when you do that, you'll feel stronger, you'll feel better about yourself. But whatever you do, don't give up.
Be like the alchemist who can transmute base metal into gold. Learn to turn your suffering into consciousness, disaster into enlightenment, and your adversity into advantage.